Hey everyone, and welcome back. So you guys sent in a ton of articles all about what's going on in AI right now. We're talking huge companies like Alibaba, Apple, open source projects making waves, and even some like kind of interesting questions about where all of this is heading.
It really is amazing how quickly things are moving.
Yeah,
There's so much happening.
it's hard to keep up.
It is.
Like I was reading this article about Alibaba's new AI model, QWQ32B, and I was blown away because it's outperforming these much larger models. Like the ones from OpenAI, it seems like size doesn't really matter, huh?
Yeah, so they've done something really clever with QWQ32B. They're using this technique called reinforcement learning, where the model actually learns from feedback and it kind of gets better over time. It's almost like, training a dog with treats. You reward the behavior you want, and then the AI model actually learns from that.
So it's not just about like processing tons of data. It's about learning and making its own decisions. Like what kind of things could this AI do?
Well, I mean, think about it. QWQ32B is designed with what we call agentic capabilities, which means it can actually act independently. It can handle tasks that require adaptation, decision-making, like personalizing educational content or controlling robots in a dynamic environment.
Wow. But here's what really blew my mind. Alibaba wants to make smaller versions of this AI available to run on our devices.
Yeah.
So does that mean we could actually have like powerful AI on our phones and laptops, not just in some, far-off data center?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, imagine having AI assistant that works offline, like even when you don't have internet.
That's huge.
It's personalized learning apps that adapt to you. I mean, it's really a pretty big shift.
So no more buffering. I like it. And speaking of like breaking new ground, Alibaba isn't just stopping at language models. They also released Wan 2.1, which is an open source model that can create these like incredibly realistic videos. That just sounds like it's going to change everything for people who work with video.
Absolutely. I mean, just think about the potential for filmmaking, advertising, even education. I mean, things that used to require specialized skills and equipment.
Yeah.
AI is changing all that.
It is. And it sounds like they're pretty serious about AI because they're investing, wait for it, $52 billion in cloud computing and AI over the next 3 years.
Wow. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It really shows where things are going.
He does.
And Alibaba's CEO, Eddie Wu, he even talked about their goal of achieving AGI, artificial general intelligence. That's the idea of an AI that can basically do anything a human can do.
Whoa. Okay, so while Alibaba is working on AGI over there, Apple isn't just sitting around.
Right.
They just announced their M3 Ultra chip. And get this, it can actually run large language models right on your device.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
That's a huge deal, right?
I mean, imagine being able to develop and run these complex AI models, but like you said, not in the cloud, but on your laptop or even your phone.
Yeah, I mean, that would be so liberating for developers, especially if they're working with like sensitive data or they're in a place where they don't have great internet.
Yeah.
But, I mean, are there limitations to what you can do when the AI is running locally on your device like that?
Yeah, for sure. There are some trade-offs. On-device AI does require this specialized hardware,
Okay.
like Apple's M3 Ultra chip.
Right.
And, while it's super powerful, it has up to 512 gigabytes of memory.
Wow.
There might be some limits. I mean, think about the size, the complexity
Right.
of models that can run locally. But, for certain tasks like 3D rendering, visual effects, I mean, even just running large language models on the go, it's huge.
It seems like we're seeing this like a shift toward more localized AI. I mean, we're just talking about Alibaba's plans, and now Apple is building chips specifically for this. Like, is this the beginning of the end for cloud-based AI?
I don't know about the end. I mean, there will probably always be a role for the cloud, especially for these like really data-intensive tasks, super complex stuff. But I think being able to run powerful AI locally, I mean, it opens up all these doors for personalized experiences and stuff that can just work offline.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Okay, so we talked about Alibaba, Apple, and speaking of exciting developments, ChatGPT is making waves too.
Oh, yeah.
They've integrated ChatGPT with Xcode and VS Code.
Yes.
So that means developers can use it to actually write and edit code.
It's like having an AI assistant that helps you write better code faster.
Yeah, it's like pair programming, but with an AI.
Exactly.
And the really cool part, this feature will be available to everybody soon, not just the paid subscribers.
That's right.
So that means that more developers will have access to these tools.
This is what's so exciting about AI. Things are becoming more democratic. I mean, these tools are becoming available to everyone. It's really going to empower a whole new generation of developers.
Okay, so we've talked about Alibaba, Apple, OpenAI. Now it's time for the big G, Google.
Ah, yes.
They just announced their experimental AI mode in search, and it sounds like it can handle these really complex searches, way more nuanced than what we have now. So, like, what's going on behind the scenes with this new AI mode?
Well, Google is using a custom version of their latest model, Gemini 2.0, and one of the coolest things is this query fan-out. Basically, the AI can access and process information from a ton of different sources at the same time.
Okay, so it's not just about finding websites anymore. It's about really understanding the information.
Right, and then presenting it to the user in a way that makes sense.
Okay, can you give me like a real-world example of how that might actually work?
Sure. I mean, imagine you're planning a trip to Italy, right? Instead of searching for flights, hotels, attractions separately, you could just ask the AI mode. Plan a 10-day trip for 2 people, flights from New York, accommodation in Rome and Florence, must-see historical sites. I mean, the AI could analyze all sorts of data from all sorts of places and actually create a personalized itinerary all in one place.
That's really cool, but it's still experimental, right?
Right.
So, I mean, are there concerns about like accuracy and bias and things like that?
Well, Google says they're committed to providing good information, but, AI models are trained on data.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to how good that data is. I mean, it's always a good idea to kind of double check things.
Right. Always think critically.
Especially, yeah, if you're making decisions based on what the AI tells you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Google's really pushing the boundaries of what's possible with search, but it's important to think critically.
Yes.
Okay. Are you ready to switch gears a bit and talk about AI in healthcare?
Absolutely. It's a really exciting area with a lot of potential.
Yeah, and one of the companies making headlines is Microsoft with their new AI assistant called Dragon Copilot. So what makes this AI so special for healthcare?
It's designed to help doctors with all sorts of tasks.
Okay.
Imagine, an AI that listens to conversations between doctors and patients.
Right.
And then it automatically creates these detailed notes.
Okay.
It can also look at patient records and medical databases
Wow.
to give doctors the information they need right when they need it.
So no more scribbling notes on a clipboard.
Right.
Like during an exam.
It's a huge time saver.
Yeah, it frees up more time for doctors to spend with their patients.
Exactly.
Okay, so are there any other features that stand out to you about Dragon Copilot?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest things is its ability to just automate all that documentation. It can capture those patient interactions. It can transcribe conversations, generate really accurate clinical notes. And that's a huge help.
That's incredible. It's really empowering healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
But in healthcare, trust and security are super important, right?
Right.
So, like, did Microsoft address those concerns?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
They're really committed to responsible AI. They've built in these safeguards
Okay.
to make sure that everything is done ethically and responsibly.
That's good to hear. So it's clear that AI is making huge advancements in healthcare, from automating tasks to giving doctors better information. But it's not just these big tech companies, right?
Right.
The open source movement is also playing a big part.
Absolutely. Open source is about collaboration.
Yeah.
It's about transparency. It's about accessibility.
Right.
And, it allows developers from everywhere to work together. I mean, it benefits everyone.
And speaking of open source, there's this crazy story about Open Manus, which is basically an open source version of Manus AI. And they developed it in, get this, 3 hours.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's the power of community.
It really shows you what can happen when people come together. I mean, it really democratizes AI development.
So it's like this clash of the titans, big tech versus open source,
Yeah.
centralized AI versus this on-device processing. It's wild.
It's an exciting time to be following all of this.
It really is. It's fascinating to see how it's all going to play out. But one thing is for sure, AI is here to stay.
Definitely.
It's going to have a big impact.
A huge impact on all of our lives.
Okay, I think we've given everyone a lot to digest. So when we come back, we're going to explore some of the bigger impacts of AI, like how it might affect jobs, the ethical stuff we need to be thinking about, and, of course, what this all means for the future.
We've been talking about some pretty amazing stuff, like AI that can write code, plan trips, even make videos.
It really is incredible how fast things are moving. But I'm curious, what does all of this mean for the average person? How will AI actually, touch our daily lives in the coming years?
Well, AI is already kind of woven into our lives, even if we don't always realize it. Think about like personalized recommendations on streaming services or the fraud detection that keeps your online transactions safe.
So it's not necessarily about robots taking over the world, at least not yet.
Right, at least not in the Hollywood way. AI is ultimately a tool.
Yeah.
And its impact depends on how we choose to use it.
Okay, so let's talk about the positive side.
Mm-hmm.
How can AI actually make our lives better in practical ways?
Healthcare is a huge area. We already talked about Dragon Copilot, but the possibilities go way beyond that. Imagine AI-powered diagnostic tools that could detect diseases way earlier, even more accurately. Or personalized treatment plans, that consider your genes, your lifestyle.
So it's not just about making the doctor's jobs easier.
Right.
It's about better patient care.
Exactly. AI could even help us prevent diseases before they develop, tailor treatments to each patient, and potentially even help people live longer. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
That's really exciting. So beyond healthcare, what other areas do you see AI really shaking things up?
Oh, I mean, AI is already transforming things like manufacturing, transportation, finance, education. Think about robots working alongside humans in factories to make things faster, more efficiently. Self-driving cars, they could make our roads safer, reduce traffic.
Okay, what about fields like finance and education? What's happening there?
Well, in finance, these AI algorithms can analyze tons of data to spot investment opportunities, help manage risk. And in education, you've got AI platforms that can personalize learning so each student gets what they need based on their learning style.
It sounds like AI is going to be everywhere.
It really will.
But with all this talk of automation and AI taking over things that humans used to do, what about jobs? Are we all going to be replaced by robots?
That's the big question a lot of people have, and it's definitely something we need to consider. I mean, some jobs will probably become automated, but history shows us that new technology also creates new jobs. So it's really about adapting, and developing skills that will be needed in this new world.
So it's not us versus them, it's more like working together.
Yeah, exactly. I think the future of work will be about humans and AI collaborating. Each side brings its own strengths. Humans are creative, we're good at critical thinking, and we have emotional intelligence. AI is great at analyzing data, seeing patterns, and doing repetitive tasks.
So the key is finding that balance.
Yeah.
Recognizing that AI can actually help us be better at what we do.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the good stuff, but let's be real. There are some potential downsides to AI, things like data privacy, bias, even AI being used for bad things.
Yeah, you're right. Those are all very real concerns, and it's important to talk about them openly. As AI gets more powerful, we have to make sure our data is protected, that these AI systems are used responsibly, and that we're putting safeguards in place, to prevent any misuse.
It's not just about being excited about the cool things AI can do. We have to be responsible.
Absolutely.
We need to be ethical.
We need to think carefully about the impact of all of this.
Okay, so we've talked about the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Now, where do you see AI heading in the next 5, 10, maybe even 20 years?
Predicting the future is tough, especially with something as fast-moving as AI, but we can already see some trends. For example, there's this big push for AI systems to be more transparent, so we can understand how they're making decisions, spot any potential bias.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's one thing to get an answer from an AI, but it's another to understand why it gave you that answer and make sure it's not based on something that's wrong or unfair.
Exactly. Another trend is using AI for social good. Think about tackling things like climate change, poverty, disease. AI is being used to develop renewable energy, improve access to healthcare, even predict and prevent natural disasters.
That's really cool. It sounds like AI has the potential to really make a difference. But how can the average person keep up with all of this? It's moving so fast.
It can be overwhelming, but there are lots of resources out there. Websites like AM, MIT Technology Review, The Batch, they've got great articles. They break things down. Podcasts like this one are great too.
Yeah.
And if you want to get into the technical stuff, there are tons of online courses and tutorials.
So it's about being curious, staying informed, maybe even like trying some AI projects yourself.
Yeah, exactly. The more we understand AI, the better we can navigate it. We shouldn't be afraid of it. We should embrace it.
Right. It's a tool that can help us solve problems.
It can help us create a better future.
That's a good point. So it's not about feeling the unknown. It's about being open to learning. Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, open source AI.
Oh, yeah. It's super important. It makes things more transparent. You've got more collaboration, better access. It makes sure the benefits of AI are shared and not just controlled by a few big companies.
So it's about making sure everyone benefits, not just a select few.
Yes, exactly. Open source AI allows individuals and smaller companies to get involved. That leads to more innovation. And it ensures a more diverse and inclusive future for this really transformative technology.
Okay, so we've got this balance between innovation and responsibility, big tech and open source,
Hmm.
the potential of AI, but also the risks.
You got it. AI is a powerful tool, and it's up to all of us to use it wisely. I mean, the future of AI is not set in stone. We're shaping it with the decisions we're making right now.
Okay, so much to think about. We've covered the latest advancements, talked about the good and the bad, and even looked ahead to the future. But before we wrap things up completely, we have one final part to this deep dive. We'll be back after a short break to go over the key takeaways and leave you with some food for thought. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our AI deep dive.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, exploring all this new stuff, what it could mean for the future.
It really has so much to consider. Before we go, though, let's recap some key takeaways for our listeners.
For sure. I mean, the first thing is that AI is evolving so quickly, and it's already impacting us, like in every aspect of our lives, from how we get around, healthcare, even the way we learn.
Yeah, and we're seeing both big companies and these open source communities really pushing things forward.
It's true. Companies like Alibaba, Apple, Google, Microsoft, they're all investing tons of resources into AI research and development. But at the same time, you have this open source movement that's really gaining traction, making these technologies more accessible, fostering more collaboration and innovation.
Right, and it's clear that AI has the potential to do a lot of good,
Oh, yeah.
but it also comes with some potential challenges.
Absolutely. I mean, we have to be mindful about how we develop and use AI, making sure it benefits everyone and doesn't create new problems or make existing ones worse.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into AI, is there anything specific you want our listeners to think about? Something that, builds on everything we've talked about?
That's a good question. I guess I would say think about what skills you might need to thrive in an AI-powered world. How can you actually use these advancements to your advantage? What can you do to be prepared for these changes?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's not about being afraid of AI.
Right.
It's about being proactive and taking advantage of what it offers.
Exactly. It's about adapting, evolving alongside this technology. The people who can harness the power of AI, those are the ones who will succeed.
Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thanks for sharing your insights with us.
It was my pleasure. And hey, to everyone listening, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. The future of AI is, well, it's up to all of us.
And that's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you enjoyed exploring the world of AI advancements with us. If you want to keep the conversation going, share your thoughts on social media. Until next time, keep diving deep.